Mm-mm. Drinking this before it goes cold. Welcome all to another Grounded Tech Talk. It's been ages, far too long, but we are here, and there's a few things to talk about. That's why I thought it'd be a good time to jump on and cover a few things that have been going on in the old mobile world in recent days and weeks. We've got a few things. We've got the Apple event that happened yesterday, the Xperia 5 Mark 5 that was announced recently as well. That's releasing soon. And we've got the upcoming Pixel event, Google event, Pixel event, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be Pixels, and I'm quite looking forward to that. So, plenty to cover. Obviously, Apple announced new Apple Watches. We've got new iPhones with USB-C, and they've all got the dynamic island now. So, yay for that. And yeah, the Xperia 5 Mark 5, quite interesting. We're going to get into that probably a little bit more in detail because that's probably what I sort of know a little bit more of. Um, Pixels coming up. I don't know what else we're going to get at that event, and there's supposed to be a Pixel Watch too, I believe. So we'll see what comes from that, and yeah, we'll probably start off with the Xperia talking about that. We've got Mal in the chat. Hello, sir. I hope you're keeping well. For some reason, this tripod is not liking the stability at the minute. I don't know why, but it just keeps wobbling. It's very weird. Doesn't normally do that. It's kind of weird. So yeah, we're gonna start with the Xperia, I think, and sort of just get into that a little bit. Obviously, I'm rocking the Xperia 1 Mark 5 at the minute. I'm using that as my webcam at the moment, and I love this phone. So when we heard that the Xperia 5 Mark 5 was going to have one less camera lens, which we all assumed would be the telephoto, turns out it was. I was a little bit saddened by that, but at the end of the day, the 2.5x on the Xperia 5 Mark 4, whilst it was quite useful in some situations, it wasn't fantastic unless you're in like really good light. What's up, nation? Welcome in. So Sony decided to cut down the camera stack. So we've got the telephoto removed, but they gave us the same main sensor that is on the Xperia 1 Mark 5, which is a very big deal. It's a very big deal. The sensor is fantastic. Doesn't look that great on stream right now because I'm streaming through Restream. It's limited to 720p. Whatever else, yeah, it's not brill. At some point, I think I might do one of these streams just with the Xperia straight from the app, just to see what the quality difference is like. That'd be quite interesting. So, if I share this screen, Fracti is in the house. Hello. Here we go. Boom.
A new day, feeling fresh.
So this is like that
Make
little
all the moments in your life great memories.
marketing bit.
Capturing the moment, anytime, anywhere. A smartphone that's right for me. New phone, new me. Xperia 5 Mark 5.
So like, we look at it from there. It's probably the easiest way to do it. So next gen sensor, which is the big deal with this. That's the important part. That's the bit that we needed to have in the Xperia 5 Mark 5. The trouble is, the Xperia 5 Mark 5 is a very, very compact phone. Very compact. It is difficult to realize quite how small it actually is until you have one in hand. So last year with the 5 Mark IV, Sony put in a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which in a phone that size is insane. But the issue with that is that obviously there's size constraints, which limits the amount of things you can put in there. So the 5 Mark III from the previous year had the same variable telephoto lens that the 1 Mark III had. For the 5 Mark IV, they got rid of that and just put in a fixed 2.5x lens, which a lot of people were disappointed with at the time. But I thought it was quite a good trade-off to get that extra battery life. I really appreciated having that bigger cell in there. It was really good. Move forward to this year, and they've kept the same size battery, but to put in that new main sensor, which is a lot larger than the sensor on last year's phone, they've ended up cutting out one of the lenses, which was the 2.5x. Now they kind of get around that with the main sensor having a 2x crop because it is a for photos at least for stills it's a 48 megapixel sensor. So at 2x you still got the 24 megapixels, but um obviously that's not optical zoom, it's just digital zoom really. Um Similar trick that Apple's been playing with their iPhones. They did a lot of stuff on the presentation yesterday too with that, saying that it had 7 different focal lengths or something like that, when in fact it doesn't. It's just that multiple of those are with digital crop. So marketing, but I would also call it just straight up lying. Um, so bit of a trade off there. We've lost the telephoto, got the main sensor. The main sensor is a hell of a lot better. So generally, actually, when you if you have a look at some of the videos, there's one from Tech Edit, I think. Basil on there is very good. You know, he does some good stuff. He showed the telephoto from the 5 Mark IV versus the main sensor from the 5 Mark V at like 2x, 2.5x in sort of normal light and low light. And actually, the 5 Mark V just looked better pretty much in all scenarios. So Sony sort of made the right choice in getting rid of that to put the main sensor in. I think it's a fair trade off. It's that main sensor is something that you really want to have in the phone. It's that good. So yeah, that technology is going to start, appearing in other phones soon. I think Xiaomi, iPhones, Oppos, those sorts of things. You'll start to see that at some point. Yeah, I think 3x is probably pushing it a bit. But it also depends on the sensor quality as well. I mean, I'd prefer to have a 3x, definitely. My Xperia 1 Mark 5 is, I think it's 3.5 to 5x or 3.5 to 5.2x, something like that. So, if you can have a telephoto in there, it's definitely preferable. But from the comparisons that I've seen with the 5 Mark 5, with the main sensor versus the telephoto, and the telephoto wasn't very good quality on the 5 Mark 4. It wasn't good quality at all. So I actually think it's a fair trade off because the 5 Mark 5 here in the UK at least is £100 cheaper than last year's. So they've had to sort of bring that cost down a little bit. They've had to make some changes somewhere. So it looks like the telephoto's been chopped, and also the main issue for me is the screen quality. So you can see actually on the 5 Mark 5 there, there's actually quite a bit more bezel on the edges than there usually has been. And the 5 Mark 4 actually looks better and has a better quality screen in it, which is kind of crazy. Um, I wouldn't have minded so much with the bezels. The bezels wouldn't have bothered me so much if the screen quality was still good. But apparently the screen quality is actually not great either. It's kind of not got great viewing angles, and it's not that bright. So that's kind of a shame. I would have hoped that they'd keep the screen quality around about the same. But to get it £100 cheaper, it's still a pretty good deal, I think. I think it's a pretty good deal. That compact size, big battery, fantastic main sensor, all of the same features that you'd get in the Xperia 1. I think it's I think it's a very, very compelling device. You know, it's selling for around about the same price as a base iPhone. Now, the base iPhones had upgrades too, but it doesn't have a sensor anywhere near as good as the one in the 5 Mark 5, and it doesn't have a lot of features of the 5 Mark 5. I mean, obviously, you can swing that both ways, but um, for me, I'd take the Xperia, of course, but for many people, I think the upgrades to the iPhone 15 are pretty compelling. Not so sure about that dynamic island, but you know, it's not to my liking. Fair enough. Good software could have helped a lot in bad telephoto hardware in photos. I'm like, yeah, it kind of does, but if you've got a low quality sensor, especially if you are shooting in a little bit lower light, as I say, check out the channel Tech Edit. They've got a 5 Mark 5 review on there, and it does some side by side comparisons in low light and normal light between the 5 Mark 5 and the 5 Mark 4's telephoto. And it's actually surprising how much better the main sensor is on its own. Like the photos do look a lot better. It's not going to be as great for, you know, giving you that sort of little bit of separation and background blur for like portrait type photography, but for the most part, the main sensor does a really really good job. I'd pick Xperia above iPhone as well, much better. I think for that it definitely. I mean, and the thing is, like people looking at iPhones, comparing iPhones and Xperias is nigh on impossible. It is nigh on impossible because they are very very different devices. They're for very different people. Obviously, iPhones are for the popular everyday crowd. Xperia's the opposite. They're for a very niche user that wants a particular feature set with all the bells and whistles that you used to get on a smartphone. So yeah, it's a difficult comparison. Difficult comparison. Lo-fi, how we doing? Welcome in. Is this the sensor that's coming in the iPhone 15 Pro or standard 15s? Well, they both had upgrades. Apple didn't really mention exactly what those upgrades were. They said that there was a better sensor, but they've not really said what those sensors are. So I haven't seen anything in terms of what the actual sensors are as yet. But they've both had upgrades. So the standard iPhone's gone to. Let me just bring this up. We'll bring that up. That'll be easier to do. And you can see this. There we go. So, oh shit, this is all just iPhone 15 Pro, in it. That's 15 Pro. But we can go over that anyway. But 48 megapixel main, which apparently is upgraded over last year's sensor, so it's a slightly better sensor, they say. I don't really know what the difference is as yet. Obviously, we've got the 5x telephoto on the Pro Max, which is probably the biggest change this year for iPhone. I mean, it's the first time we've had a telephoto at that sort of focal length. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. And that basically that basically matches it up to like a a Pixel 7 Pro. Pixel 7 Pro is a 5x telephoto as well. So it's around that sort of level. They've got sensor shift OIS on those as well. So Nice to have, nice to have. The Pro model's only got a 3x still, so but I don't really know anything about the sensors again. Don't really know what sensors are in there, so there's only been, like, the rumor stuff. I wanna know sort of hard details on that, but we've not really got, any info. Let me search iPhone 15 and see what we get. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. That'll do. But again, the trouble is with this, they don't give you sensor details. So they do the whole marketing thing, same as what Samsung does, megapixels and stuff. So normal iPhone has been upgraded to 48 megapixels. I'm guessing that the iPhone 15 has the same sensor that was in the 14 Pro last year. Because this is what Apple tends to do. They tend to recycle parts from the previous year and put them into the standard model now. So just like with the SoC, so the A17 Pro is this year's chip, and they they put the A16 in the iPhone 15 this year. So it uses last year's SoC. It's probably using last year's sensor. Apparently, it's a 24 megapixel JPEG, I think, which is interesting. Surprised it's not been down to 12 megapixels, but we'll see. I might have that wrong, but as far as I know, the optical quality of 2x. This is what gets me. This is what gets me. This optical quality 2x telephoto. So the same thing we've just been talking about with the Xperia. You go to 2x, uses 24 megapixel crop, as you say, and saying it's optical quality is just marketing. But you like, it's not optical, right? We know it's not. So I hate when they use that kind of language. Um, yeah, it's quite funny. They've got this bit here, true depth front camera with autofocus. But the thing I was thinking of, the where is it? Portraits, next generation portraits. So apparently they use the ultra wide at the same time as the main sensor or something. They give you a sort of background, gives it more background data. Um, and they're starting to do things in a way that other phones have been doing for quite a while, which was quite funny because they showed some samples. They didn't actually look very good. They didn't look very good at all. But apparently the HDR might be fixed. So if the smart HDR, the new version of it, actually fixes the HDR issues of the iPhone, it'll actually be a lot better because the HDR alone was such a pain in the backside. But then it'll be interesting to see whether they actually manage to if they actually manage to make skin tones and stuff better, because color reproduction's definitely been an issue on iPhones. So we'll see if they manage to do anything better with that. Um, that's the one I wanted. Got my pre-order for the 15 Pro Max set up ready for Friday. Ooh, I might be swapping my Xperia for an iPhone, just just for shits and giggles. YT Music, yes, the average iPhone user has zero clue about all these specs. You'll be surprised how. Well, in all fairness, mate, that is true. In the thing for me, I think when you look at like the standard iPhones, I mean, they're literally giving last year's features, hardware and features in many ways. So most iPhone users, I mean, I was saying this on Twitter. A lot of people were talking about, oh, look, the iPhone's still got 60 hertz. They're ripping people off. Blah 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 blah. People aren't being ripped off if they're happy to buy it. They're just not. And you can say that people are just ignorant, but if enough people were actually cared about it, with the millions of people using iPhones, they would have mentioned it. And you've got the Pro models there with 120 hertz. If you really want high refresh rate, if you're one of those techie nerds, that you can get high refresh rate if you want. So I always say, like, people just want an iPhone. It's not necessarily about the specs, is it? They want an iPhone. An iPhone is the cool and hip thing to have, especially if you're a younger person, you want to be part of that group. You've all got iPhones. You're all amazing. They just want an iPhone. It's just how it is. I mean, how many people have been talking about how they're complaining that, like, users are complaining that they're switching to USB-C, and they're like, "But I got all my Lightning cable stuff." So they don't want to switch. Switching because they've been told to. Young whippersnappers. Adit is in the chat. Hello, sir. We've just spoken a little bit about the Xperia 5 Mark V as well. So if you have any thoughts, mate, throw them in. So that's the iPhone 15. That's the iPhone 15. Apparently they've kept the price the same. They've not increased the price, which is always nice. But again, like I thought they'd bring some other things there, but never mind. Yeah, I've witnessed how kids with iPhones were bullying Android, and that was terrifying. I mean, this is it. I mean, that's just how it is. Kids are like that for all sorts of things. I mean, when I was a kid, it'd be like, you know, if you didn't have Rockport shoes, you get bullied for it, or you were seen as somebody who didn't have as much money. Random shit like that, you know. Like, there's always something with kids, but like iPhones is probably the worst thing yet, I would say, because it also forces them to be in those groups because of the way that iMessage and things works as well. But yeah, pretty standard stuff. I mean, we're all aware of that stuff by now, aren't we? Let's go back to that because so there was rumors beforehand that we were getting some other upgrades on the iPhone. There was on about like faster charging and stuff as well, and bigger batteries. But the bigger batteries just haven't really appeared. The Pro Max seems to have a really big battery, if that's right. Like if that's right, that's massive. Whereas the Pro's kind of, yeah, lagging behind quite a bit. But 20-watt charging? I mean, everybody has a go at Pixel for having slow charging, right? But 20 watt? 20 watts. I mean, I think the Pixel 8 Pro is rumored to have what? 27 watts? Still not great. I think every phone should be minimum 30 now. But yeah, it's kind of lame. Kind of lame. What else we got? So the A17 Pro. Don't know if anybody's seen anything on the A17 Pro. I don't know why they've added Pro to it this time round. Everything has to be Pro, maybe. Maybe it's that. So Bionic A17 Pro, 6-core CPU, 2 performance, 4 efficiency cores, 6-core GPU, 16-core neural engine. So I think the 6-core GPU has gone from a 5-core GPU, so we've got like a 20% increase on cores. And weirdly enough, there's about a 20% increase in performance. And around 10% performance increase on the CPU side from what I've seen of other people posting. Now, to me, that doesn't sound like much of a change in design or the architecture of the SoC. It doesn't seem like much of a bump. To me, that sounds like, I mean, it's gone down to 3 nanometer, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It just sounds like a die shrink. Like we've gone down to a more efficient die, and I it doesn't seem like it's something that warrants having a Pro on it, but maybe they've just done that to sort of market it a little bit better. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure why that's happened. Ibrahim, hello. It is, yeah. The only true pro phone from a diversity of use perspective remains the Xperia. Agreed. I mean, my Xperia 1 Mark V is not even called a pro phone. And it's far more pro than every other pro phone that's out there other than Xperia, which is just nuts. Like Sony actually used the correct term. You know, they use pro when it's for a professional use. Nobody else seems to do that at all. It's like, oh, the A17's pro because it lets you play Resident Evil on it. Yeah, that's basically it. Or the worst, daughter told father that she will turn it back on him if he gets an Android phone. Lol. I mean, that's crazy. 2,000 nits is nutty. Kind of is. It's pretty bright. Pretty bright. It'll be as bright as a supernova at some point. Like, I don't know how much brighter we need these screens, but damn. I can only imagine that when it sort of bumps up to that sort of brightness that it's really draining on the battery. I would have thought. Not as nutty as this Segway. Oh god, no. That being said, the pro marketing term is yielding results. Apple in the USA alone probably dwarfs Sony's. Well, yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. Um, but like, you know, this is it though. I mean, professionals are a very niche bunch of people, and even enthusiasts for like Sony, it's still very, very, very niche compared to anything that Apple's made. I mean, Apple's mainstream. They are mainstream. That's just how it is. Um, yeah, but you know, Sony doing their own thing and going for a particular niche has kept them in the market. I'm pretty sure that if Sony had carried on trying to do what it was doing before, that they'd have exited the market by now. I think they would have. Um, they'd have gone the same way as LG. LG just didn't see a way to change what they were doing, if they even tried, to be honest. Um, which is a shame because I think they had a lot going for them. They just decided to pull out, and that's just you know a negative for all of us, really, because LG did they innovated a lot. They innovated a lot. Exited, yeah. Don't know what you mean. No eggs here. Play Genshin Impact for an hour and you'll see how A17 Pro struggles. Well, I imagine it'll play it very, very well. I don't think it'll struggle at all. Um, I think it's probably going to play at the best of pretty much any phone out there. I would say, but not long until we get the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. I think the Xiaomi 14 series is going to be launching with that soon, so we'll have to keep our eye on that. Hamer, welcome in, mate. Brightness on the watch I get, but on the phone feels like that's what I kind of feel as well. I feel like when you get to like 1500 plus, like that's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I mean, I'm one of those people that I just keep my screen at like half the brightness most of the time. It's very rare I even get to 75%, and that's even on an Xperia. Obviously, when you're in bright sunshine and it bumps up itself automatically, I mean, it's handy to have that. But the Xperias aren't the brightest screens. I'd probably prefer it a little bit brighter than that. But I think they're only on the Xperias at like 1200 nits. So I think if it was like 1500 plus, I'd be perfectly happy with it. 2000's a lot. But then I think even like, is it the Oppo Find X6 Pro that bumps to like 2500? Something crazy. So, yeah, I think we're getting to the point where screen brightness is not an issue, basically. Ground is a big fan on those anime games. Yeah, mate. I love Genshin so much that I've never ever played it. I will never review a mobile game. Never. Looks like Exynos 2400 with the last in terms of naming scheme. Samsung are going to re. Oh, really? Well, I mean, they need to really. Everybody hates Exynos. Brightness on Xperia 5 Mark II is atrocious. Yeah, 1500 sounds like the sweet spot at max brightness. Yeah, the 5 Mark II, same with the 5 Mark III, not good. 5 Mark IV was pretty good. I thought the 5 Mark IV was pretty good. The 1 Mark V is, for the most part, great. I have no issues. But Sony are always a little bit further behind. I mean, they've got obviously they're doing like a 4K screen, but I kind of feel like it's not really needed. It's nice to be able to view back your footage in like 4K, but when it's not running at 4K most of the time anyway, it's I think people would prefer to have the extra brightness. But yeah, Samsung going for a rebrand because they've I think they've redone like reorganized the team around SoC manufacture, sort of like started over sort of thing. I think I was reading something about that recently. I can't quite remember. But that's why they skipped this year with going with Snapdragon on everything. I think they're supposed to be coming back next year um, with Exynos or with whatever they decide to call it. It all depends on how good their process is. Yeah, yeah. They're trying to get things back on track. I mean, at the end of the day, people slam Exynos, but you've got to remember at times, and I say this as a Snapdragon insider, like I like Snapdragon stuff. I like the company, but there have been times where Snapdragon hasn't produced chips that were that great. And actually, back in the past, Exynos was better than some Snapdragon chips. And people do forget this. You know, it's not a constant. These things have to be developed. Sometimes the processors aren't as good as others, and vice versa. TSMC has been very, very good for a while, but there's been rumors that Samsung's latest processor is actually really good. So we just have to sort of see what happens. I mean, a lot of people just say, "Oh, Exynos, bad. Samsung, bad, 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 bad." But then they forget that actually they made some pretty good SoCs in the past. So we just have to wait and see. Not that long to wait. Not that long to wait. As an ex Samsung brand ambassador in EE, I 100% agree with that. Exynos sucks. The last good Exynos was 993. After that, everything went to shit. Yeah. Which phone had the 993? Was there a 993? I thought it was a 990. I can't remember. I'm not very good on Exynos chips, numbering and naming schemes. S20, yeah, it was a 990, wasn't it? Yeah. Um, that one was apparently not very good. The Exynos 2100 in the S21 series was pretty good, and then he went to shit again in the S22. Tens the G3, I think, will perform better than people are thinking it will. Yeah, I've kind of got my hopes up for that a little bit. I think it's going to be quite a bit better. I think it's going to be quite a bit better. But people are doing the same thing where they just say, "Oh, well, it's Tensor, so it'll be crap." You know, like Tensor's had 2 generations. It's been based off of Exynos style designs, the same manufacturing process as some older Exynos chips. The newer Tensor is going to be based off, I think, last year's Exynos. I think off of the 2400. So Is it 2400, 2300? I can't remember. But anyway, it's going to be based off a more recent Exynos, and that should bring quite a lot more efficiency benefits. And it depends how Google organizes the cores and how they work together and how they make it work. It could end up being very, very good. Jimmy! Hope you're hydrated, mate. Hey, man, I don't have much knowledge on the Android side, but can you see any manufacturers going eSIM only in the US as Apple has? Personally, move to eSIM only in the UK would make me move to Android. I don't think there will be. I honestly don't. I mean, Samsung might at some point in the US because they like to copy Apple on these sorts of things, and they'll think, well, if Apple's going to try and lock people in that way, be a little bit more sneaky. I think we'll get a piece of that pie as well. So I wouldn't put it past Samsung. In the UK though, mate, I don't think we'll have an issue. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think it'll happen. I mean, even Apple's not tried to do that here as yet. So I think we should be okay. We should. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. Intel coming in with into the mix 25, 26 with their own foundries equipment arrives. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of foundry stuff going on at the minute, with the possible tensions rising between China and Taiwan. You got TSMC developing in the US. You've got, I think it's Intel in Europe more so. It's some new foundry in Europe. I can't remember if that's right or somebody else might be doing that. There's a lot of development there, and we're getting to the point where you know the amount of nanometers that we have is running out a little bit. So the shrinking it down is going to become more and more difficult, and we're going to have to move into a different form of computing. So we'll have to see what develops, but I think we're getting close to a sort of crossover point in that respect. We'll see what people come up with. Yeah, I think that point's good, Ibrahim. Yeah, yeah. The UK is a lot more. It's a lot more competitive, and yeah, they don't have the stranglehold that that they do it that the carriers do in the US. It's kind of crazy over there. Intel Celeron, this time we won't suck. God, can you imagine getting phone adverts and it'd be like Intel sound and logo popping up with saying Intel Celeron inside? Jesus, man. Oh, now that would be shit. I've had every Samsung from S10 to S23 Ultra. S21 Plus was no, the S21 Plus was definitely terrible, but the S21 was terrible for a particular reason. The S21, other than the S21 Ultra, the S21 and S21 Plus just had dire thermal solutions, and performance was just bloody awful. Not to mention all this throttling they were doing in the background and stuff. Like it was pretty bad. The S21 Plus was actually a pretty S21 Plus S21 Ultra was actually a pretty good phone. I saw a lot more complaints from people with the 22 Ultra than the 21 Ultra. Especially for those that had got the with the Snapdragon, actually with the 8 Gen 1. That thing was toasty. I mean, the triple eight was a toasty chip, but the 8 Gen 1, damn. Like that was a lot. But I had the S23 Ultra. That thing was great, but again, it's because Qualcomm switched to a TSMC, and the 8 Gen 2 is a fantastic SoC. I mean, that's in my Xperia now, and eh, that's fixed the Xperia in the same way. So it's good that Snapdragon sort of sorted that out. Intel stickers on our phones. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Apple's probably going to make the first 0 nanometer SoC, as in if you don't pay your monthly SoC subscription fee, your phone gets upgraded to a 0 nanometer process. I like that. That's pretty good. You're part of Apple One. Yes. I'm actually thinking of subscribing to Apple One though when I get an iPhone. But the family version, so my other half and her mum can have benefits from it as well. But that's how they get you, because then I'm tied into Apple, aren't I? I can't cancel because then it'll cancel the people stuff, right? Right? I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. They're gonna capture me, guys. They're gonna get me. I'd also Oppo Find X5, and after 1 hour playing Genshin, it was frying my hands. Yeah, the Find X5, the Pro was very, very good. The 5X5 didn't have as much of a thermal solution, I don't think, and it had the 888. So it just didn't have it didn't have as nice components as the X5 Pro, but the AGM one was toasty. Thing is, if you're playing Genshin on anything like that, it's going to end up toasty because Genshin's just so damn demanding. Whereas if you play it on like a current iPhone or an 8 Gen 2 Snapdragon phone, you probably play it just fine. But on one of the couple of generations before Snapdragon and Exynos and all that, I'm like nightmare. You had the X5 Pro. Yeah, I think with Genshin, it's a problem. Either way, definitely. Just such a demanding game. Yeah, I mean, I try and keep an open mind about stuff anyway, but you know, I think everybody should try to because at the end of the day, until you can obviously you can take information from other reviews, people that you trust, things that have been written, that sort of thing, but I think sometimes it's very difficult to get a real idea of something until you experience it yourself. And that's what happened with me with Xperia. I'd never had a Sony Xperia until I got the 5 Mark II. I only got that because I was watching Juan Carlos Bagnels and TK Bay. They were doing Sony stuff, Xperia stuff, and I watched their channels anyway. And I liked what I saw. I thought, well, maybe that'll be for me. I got the 5 Mark II, and I absolutely loved it. There were some aspects I weren't too keen on, and eventually I ended up selling it, and I got a Pixel 4 XL. Love the Pixel 4 XL, but within 6 months I was back on the Xperia 5 Mark II. It pulled me back. It pulled me back in, and since then, with having the 5 Mark IV, 1 Mark IV, 5 Mark IV, and now the 1 Mark V, I like Xperia even more because they've actually fixed a lot of the issues that it had, especially on the camera side and performance side because of the Snapdragon SoC. So things have improved a lot, and I'm at the point where the Xperia is almost a perfect phone for me. But I still have that nagging feeling, you know, we all get it. We all get it as techies. We all get it. I've got a nagging feeling of like, oh, but I really want to try this other fucking phone. I want to try it. That new iPhone. I want it. I don't know why. I just do. It's an illness. It's an illness. Yeah, I think it's my. Even though I've got Crohn's disease, my worst illness is just wanting to buy tech, even though I don't need it. It just is. So there's a chance that I may end up swapping out my Xperia for an iPhone, and I know I'll regret it. I did the same thing last year. I switched out my Xperia 1 Mark IV for the Pixel 7 Pro. Pixel 7 Pro, I loved. I really liked it. But it wasn't the Xperia. It wasn't the Xperia, and I had to get an Xperia back. But then they didn't have any decent offers on it, so I ended up with a freaking Galaxy Fold instead. So, you know, exactly. See, you know. Exactly. Our other halves are like, "For fuck's sake, like, shut up." You know, we can't help it. Nations like, "Don't do it. Don't, no. Don't, just don't." I shouldn't. The same thing, I keep coming back to Pixel for me is like the this is the thing, Nation, is that I was a Pixel person before the Xperia. So this was the thing. I was on, shit, what was I on? I mean, initially, I have had had the original Pixel. I got the 2XL. I had the 2XL for over 3 years, and then I got a Galaxy S10 Plus, which I hated. I then sold it within 6 months, and I got an iPhone 11. And this is where my opinion of YouTube sort of changed, because I was watching videos about the Pixel 4 XL, which wasn't in a great state to start with, but I didn't get the Pixel 4 XL. I got an iPhone 11. It was my first iPhone. Not gonna lie, iPhone 11 was fantastic. Great phone. Camera system was brilliant. Like, I was really, really impressed. But then after that, I went to the Xperia to give it a try, but I got drawn back into Pixel because I still had I had a Pixel 2 XL that I then eventually sold, and I got a Pixel 4a, which Google just randomly sent me, which was really nice of them. And I kind of got drawn back into that because every time I got home from work, I'd put the iPhone down and I'd pick up the Pixel. I'd be like, I just enjoy using this more. Even though I like the iPhone, I enjoy using the Pixel more. But I sort of did that after I had the Xperia. And I have this habit of just chopping and changing between. I mean, you know, still got my 6 Pro, still a fantastically capable camera, really good telephoto. Um, it's a good phone. It's a good phone. So I've got a Pixel and I switch to that every so often. But for you, Nation, saying that you keep coming back to Pixel, there's a lot of stuff on Pixel that actually feels exactly the same on an Xperia, which I think is why I like it so much because it's so close to that sort of more stock Android experience, and it just feels so fast. So I kind of feel like it's the best of both worlds having the Xperia and the Pixel together. Your other half has a moan, always remind them of their weaknesses. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yep, exactly. Had an OG Pixel, went to Samsung Galaxy, then Pixel 5 and 6, then Nothing Phone. I had the Nothing Phone as well. I've got a review of it up on my channel. Um, I actually quite liked it. I actually really liked it, other than the vibration mode was bloody awful. The haptics were awful, but I liked a lot about it. You got a Pixel 7. You're on a Pixel Fold. What are your thoughts on the Pixel Fold? Out of interest, telephoto on the 6 Pros, mate. The telephoto on the 6 Pro is so good. Like, this was an issue I had when I had the 7 Pro. I did a video on the 7 Pro, and I mentioned the fact that going to 5x was a bit too much for me. I've been talking about this a little bit in the Telegram group that I'm in. That that bump up to 5x kind of takes it a little bit too far away for me, because I do a lot of shooting indoors. I am indoors quite a lot. I take photos of the dogs, whatever else. Houses here aren't big. The rooms are quite small. Like, going to a 5x, I'm having to get away that little bit further to the point where I don't have the space to use it. It's great when you're out and about and you're taking photos of things that are a little bit further away and stuff. Really helpful. But for my use case, it just wasn't quite as good. So I find the 4x to be a much more suitable focal length, because there's nothing really in between there. You have to use the main sensor to crop, essentially, or get a bigger house. Yeah, but then iPhone's going to have the same issue. iPhone's got the same issue. Like people were saying, "Oh, I'm really disappointed that the iPhone's not got more than a 5X. I was hoping for like 6 or 7." It's like, well, it's great if you've got 6 or 7, but what do you then have in between? Because you'd need like a 3X to fill the void there at least, wouldn't you? So then you're saying Apple should add another lens, which they're not going to do yet. Not a freaking chance. And have it a bit like how the S23 Ultra is set up. So, I kind of like the 3 to 5, ideally sort of 2.5 to 4 area is what I tend to use the most. Loving the Fold, had it for about a month now. I find the launch behavior to be a little bit odd. Hmm. Example, when the phone is unfolded, you can have 6 apps in taskbar. When folded, only 5. Widget spacing is weird. The black bars aren't consistent. So there's some software quirks going on at the minute, is what you mean. Which I imagine they'll get ironed out because, it's Gen 1. It's Gen 1, so used to tend to being warm, but they mate. Yeah, I bet it didn't. I bet it didn't. I mean, it's the same with this. Like I using this, and I use this as my webcam generally, but I thought I'd give the Xperia a go today. I got off stream the other day. I think I did 2.5 or 3 hours streaming, and I went to pick this up out of the holder, and it was so freaking hot. Like I nearly burnt my hand on the thing. It was that hot. It was close to burning temperature. That's how it felt. But the funny thing is that as a camera, as a webcam, it didn't skip a beat. Like there was no frame drop, there was nothing. It was brilliant. So it still worked, which was really good. Um, I don't know what kind of damage that's doing to the battery, of course, but that's a question for another day. So yeah, it doesn't like it, but temperature is going to drop soon here in the UK, so we'll get a little bit cooler temperatures, and Tensor will sort of be pretty nice to use in winter as a hand warmer. So yeah, lovely. 3x crop on the main, go 6 to 7x on the telephoto photo. Yeah, I mean that's probably what would have happened, but I would I hate to crop digitally. Generally, I don't mind on the Xperia. I use the 2x quite a lot to sort of crop in because you're just losing some of that resolution, but um, some of them megapixels. But you can do it on that. Whereas on previous Xperias with it just being the 12 megapixel main sensor, you really didn't want to be doing that at all. Um, so this new sensor from Sony is absolutely lovely. I'm not even kidding. It's so good. So if they can apply this sensor to the telephoto lens next year, holy shit, I would switch back to that. I would switch to that so quickly. Just nothing. There'd be nothing else out there that I could want. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like, just give me that. It'd be amazing. Don't even mention British weather. That was the most depressing summer of my life. Summer? What summer? I think 2012 wasn't great. I think if I remember right, 2012. I was at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix all weekend at 2012. It rained the entire weekend. We were basically camped in mud, and we were all pushing cars out and stuff to get out of the fields afterwards. It was horrible. I had to buy a fleece, and I got fleeced, 70 quid for this fleece to keep myself a little bit warmer, and I still wasn't warm. And yeah, it was miserable until we left. Until we were there pushing the cars out of the mud, and the tractors were pulling the cars out of the mud, and I ended up getting bloody sunburn. It was mental. Absolutely, it was just a crazy, crazy weekend. So yeah, the British weather is a funny thing, a very funny thing. Funny, funny indeed. Hopefully, other times you get things will get ironed out. I got to give it to you for being an early adopter. I'm not gonna lie, Ibrahim. Like, if I had the money and I could spare it, like, I'd have no problem spending it and being a first. Because I actually like being an early adopter. I actually enjoy that. You know, as long as there's no fundamental issue with the basic functions, I am quite happy to be an early adopter. I love doing that. I love being involved early in new tech. 2014, I think, was where around 6 a.m. July, water was frozen on the street. What? That's crazy. I was at Silverstone for 2014 as well. It was quite nice. Love Pixel fans. I wanted a foldable for a very long time. Got it for £1,000. Wow, that's a crazy good deal. I had a voucher as part of Pixel Superfans that gave me, I think, 500 quid off, something like that. But I still couldn't afford to get anything like that right now. Um, but I think for me, the Pixel Fold is the perfect form factor. I would say perfect form factor. I'd rather have that form factor than the Fold, the Galaxy Fold. Yep, I feel you on that one. I'm skint. There you go. So, talking of Pixel, then, what are you guys expecting for the Pixel 8 series? I know we've seen bits and bobs already from Google, and we've seen colors. We know the Pixel 8 Pro is flat. We've spoken a little bit already about Tensor G3. So I'm quite positive about the 8 Pro this time. I mean, I think we're supposed to be getting some sensor upgrades as well for the camera, at least on the main lens. I kind of feel like I would like them to upgrade the telephoto sensor in particular, just to make sure that they really compete with what Apple's putting out. I mean, obviously, a Pixel is the processing that really sort of elevates them over something like an iPhone. Anyway, I think I Apple's still going to struggle with that, but I'm interested to see what they do software wise because, like you say, they've got this thermometer thing, which I'm still a little bit puzzled as to why that would be there. Why would need that? So I would like to see what benefit that actually bring. I mean, they must have some sort of software or something that really benefits from it, but maybe they're just turning into the new LG. Maybe. Matte back finish, yes. Camera upgrades, flat screen, G3. Yeah, they're all things that really appeal to me. Matte back, camera upgrades, flat screen, big tensor improve. I'm expecting quite big tensor improvements. And when I've said this, people have said, "Yeah, well, it wasn't exactly great going from Tensor G2 from the original Tensor, was it?" And it's basically the same SoC. You know, it was made on the same process. I mean, I think they changed the GPU layout more than anything, but the CPU was basically the same. Whereas this year we are actually getting an upgrade. We are getting a real upgrade. Not to mention it's gonna be the first. It's gonna have AV1 support, which I think the new A17 Pro from Apple has that as well. So hopefully Snapdragon matched that with the 8 Gen 3. So yeah, I'm not with G3. I don't think we'll see anything special until they go TSMC. Um, they're not going to be. It's not going to be special. So that's definitely not what I'm saying. From what's rumored, we're going to get sort of like 8 Gen 1 performance. So I can't really grumble with that kind of 8 Gen 1 performance is more than enough for that level of smartphone, especially for like a base model. Um, it's all about whether they can keep the thermals under control a little bit better, which, depending on how they design it, could help. But um, oh, wrong one. Fundamentally, it's an old Samsung chip, right? No, I wouldn't. It's made on the same processors, and it's using similar cores. So it just depends on the how they arrange the cores, how they run it, and that's kind of how we'll just have to wait and see. We're not going to know that until we see it, and we use it. To be honest, um, so yeah, it's using the same sort of cores that you'd find in an Exynos. I think the Exynos was it 2300 or I think it might have been 2300. I can't remember. Um, so it's using similar cores. Did I disable super chats? Not that I'm aware of. I think I enabled it. It might be because I need to verify some stuff for it to work properly. I think they might have disabled something. Base level is 2300. Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing. It's the configuration that's the thing. I'll sort it out, Jimmy, at some point, mate. I'll make sure I sort it. Yeah. So that's the thing. There's a lot of other stuff going on. So it's the same core. The same cores are used as what's in the Exynos 23, but it all depends on the arrangement of it. You know. What else have I missed? Aditya. Genuinely hope they give us, mate. If they give us video out, I'd be very happy. But I'd be even more happy if they gave us a proper desktop mode. I still believe that they should be pushing something that's a Chromebook replacement. I really do. Yeah, I think that G5 is G5 when they're switching over to TSMC as well. There should be a super chat option. There should be a super chat option. Hmm. Yeah, it's not there for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, G5's TSMC. So yeah, yeah. That'll be a big difference. But again, pixel prices are going to increase with that. People need to realize that the prices are going to go up. Yeah, that's fine, guys. The membership option's there as well. I mean, rather than doing a super chat, just become a member. It'll probably be cheaper, and you'll be the first member on the channel if you do. So, but super chats, I thought I'd sorted super chats, but I'll make sure to add them. It's probably something that I need to sort. Um, yeah, A plus Gen 1 was pretty good. It was decent. Yeah, TSMC is more expensive. Yeah, definitely. It's in demand, everybody wants TSMC. Um, this is the reason why Google's done this though, is that to get sales, to get market share, and to get the cost down, they needed to have something that wasn't going to cost them a fortune, something that would allow them to price the phone cheaper. Tensor allowed them to do that by going through Samsung. Not many people are really making these things with Samsung at the minute. So Samsung has it there to use. It's definitely a lot cheaper than using Snapdragon. Is it as good as Snapdragon? Clearly not. Does it have its benefits? Yes. Can it still beat a Snapdragon in some instances? Yes, but not many. So, you know, I feel like Google made the right choice because they are increasing their market share. They just are. So people complain about Tensor, but at the same time, it's a necessary evil. Oh, I did. I wasn't telling you to actually buy a membership, mate. I'm just saying, like, for those that were saying that they were going to do a super chat, go for the membership instead because you know you get a little icon next to your name and stuff, and it's a bit better than using a super chat because you probably spend more on a super chat anyway. I think I've enabled it really cheaply for the membership, so I think it's like £2. But it's not necessary. I don't expect anybody to do it. It's not. It's just there. Um, what Google achieved on the Pixel Watch with Sammy Chip is amazing. I yeah. It's funny because I've got a Galaxy Watch 4 and I used the Pixel Watch in store. I actually got a Pixel Watch free with my Pixel 7 Pro, but I sold it. Bit too small for me, and battery life not enough. But performance-wise, when I used it in store, it felt so much smoother than the Galaxy Watch 4 that I had. Way smoother. Way smoother. So, they did a good job on the performance side of things, but I think with Pixel Watch 2 that we'll be getting at the Pixel event once it comes around, I really hope that they bring a battery size increase because it needs it. They could solve that just by making the watch bigger. But again, the watch was really expensive, so will they have to up the price again? Which I don't. I mean, it's already too expensive. My only complaint with Tensor is the heat issue. Really, yes, yeah, that's the thing. It is the heat issue. It's efficiency, and that's still going to be a bit of a crux with G3. But I'm just hoping Google sort of tune it so it's not running at as high a frequency, and that allows it to still give you more performance than you would have got from Tensor G1 or G2, but then allow you to allow them to sort of keep the the thermals in check a little bit more. That's what I'm hoping they'll do, you know. But let's see. So yeah, we're getting Snapdragon Wear in it this time round. Are we actually getting that this time round, or are they sticking with like a Exynos ver? Are they going to get like a custom Tensor chip in there that's basically based on an Exynos again? Still believe, in my opinion, Pixel software is still better optimized than iOS. I agree. I agree. I think the thing is with iOS is that it does shut off a lot of stuff in the background. It's just not doing as much. And the Pixel's just really nice to use. And I just think the software is better altogether. It's just actually useful. It's a proper smartphone. It does smart things. Like it does stuff other smartphones just don't do. What would you want battery wise out of the watch? Because I get a day with all the things turned on, and it's not as annoying as I would have thought coming from a Galaxy Watch 4. Um, I mean, it definitely won't be as annoying as a Galaxy Watch 4 because that thing is just Samsung being ridiculous as ever. If I turned everything off on the Galaxy Watch 4 for the most part, I'd get like day and a half to 2 days. Um, I ideally want a few days minimum out of a watch. I haven't got it on at the minute, but we just That's the TicWatch Pro 5, which Snapdragon in there as well. I think W5 Gen 1 or something like that. Might as well put it on now. And performance is great. Battery life, I'm getting generally 3.5 days. It's got continuous heart rate measurement on as well. I say continuous, like every minute or whatever it is, something like that. It checks every minute. So it's really good. And having that dual display, really nice. Really, really nice. And the screen's very, very responsive. It, performance wise, it's great. So I'm really, really happy that Snapdragon sent me this out. It's quality. Proper quality like. Look at it. Oh, it's gone off. Meh. There we go. So that's the normal display. And then when it goes dark, which it will in a sec, I'm sure, if it wants to. There you go. And there you go. You can see the other display there, which displays all your vital information, but it's lower power. So I really like how this works. It's comfortable as well. It's a good size. It's perfect size for me. So yeah, I don't see the Pixel Watch really doing anything for me. I don't think there's going to be anything that it brings to the table that I actually think, oh yeah, I'd like that. But this has everything that I would want in terms of blood oxygen and heart rate and all that sort of stuff. Like it does it all really, really well. So and gives me everything. It gives me everything I want. I've literally never found a smartwatch that I actually wanted, and when I've used them, I've not been happy. This is the first one I am actually happy with. So hats off to Mobvoi for making a cracking product. And unlike their Samsung app, you don't need to install different things to make certain features work, or you don't need to have a Samsung phone for these features to work. So, that's something that really bugs me as well. This will just work on any Android phone that I have. So, it's Samsung trying to play that, trap you in game that others play. And they're just trying to be like Apple. And I find that very, very annoying. So yeah, that's me. That's me. Oh, is that a thing for Apple Watch? I love the aesthetics of it, and Pixel Watch is pretty close to me. The thing for me with the Apple Watch, I think, is that it's not round. I want a round watch. You could say it's a small thing. I like it to be round. Square just feels it's not natural. Not natural. Right. I don't know what else we're expecting at the Pixel event. Anybody else? Anything at all? I think I'm out of ideas there. I really want them to improve the sensor on the telephoto. Um, Video out we've already mentioned. Main sensor I think is getting an upgrade. Flat screen, very happy about that. Maybe a bit brighter, that'd be good. A little bit better quality screen. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what that brings. I am looking forward to Pixel 8 Pro though. I am looking forward to it. Pixel Tag. I've never been interested in the tag stuff. It's never really thought about it. Android 4, you just reminded me I need to install Android 14 beta on this Pixel 6 Pro. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. When I get off this stream, I'm gonna install Android 14 beta on this. Accessories for the Pixel tablet. Hey, who knows? Who knows? Maybe. Maybe. I like a lower price in the UK though. It's a bit high. I am looking forward to whatever Pixel is going to bring back the headphone jack. Keep debating whether to put the beta on my Fold once these battery improvements. I think your battery improvement will come when the temperature drops, which it has done a little bit already. I think when it runs so hot, it tends to just drain so quick. So yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you've got a pretty decent sized battery in the Pixel Fold. It's just a case of if you're using that inside screen, it's just gonna drain so much quicker. I mean, it's twice as fast basically, isn't it? Better trading value has been nice. Yep, yep. Would be good. Would be good. But yeah, I think Google just need to take the fight to Apple now. They need to start in terms of it. I mean, they're not really competing with Apple in a way because Apple's Apple and people are going to buy iPhones regardless. But there's a lot of people buying Pixels, especially here in the UK. And I feel like this gen is a good opportunity, especially with Tensor G3 and whatever else, to really sort of push some decent hardware and some new software features. So I'm just hoping we'll see more software. Really, Pixel's usually all about software, so I want more software features. I know we've got that audio eraser potentially coming as well, so we'll see. You get less battery than what? You get less battery life than you did on your Pixel 7, and you mostly use the fold closed. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good at all. FaceTime, but for Android. Google Meet? Probably not. Probably not. Right, guys, we're gonna wrap that up. We're gonna wrap it up. If you don't already, I think most of you already follow me on Twitter anyway. Sorry, X, Grounded Tech on there, on YouTube as well. We're already here. Instagram, right? Follow me on Instagram, Grounded Tech. I'm starting to post a little bit more frequently on there again now. So Instagram and what's that other place? Threads. Anybody heard of Threads? I hear it's going really well over there. It's yeah, that was a flash in the pan, wasn't it? Anyway, I'm probably going to say I'm at work and my manager's getting annoyed at me. Well, get back to work and take it easy. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. We'll try and get more stuff on soon. I've got my Xperia 1 Mark 5 review currently in scripting process and trying to sort of get a video out because I've not done a video for 4 months. I apologize. It's not been good. It's not good enough. So I need to get a video out. We might have something else before that as well. But the Xperia 1.5 review is coming end of this month. 3-month review. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm really like the phone. So, I mean, my review is going to be quite positive, as you can already tell. So, yeah. Thank you, guys. Take care of yourselves. Have yourselves a good weekend as well once we actually get there. And enjoy the slightly cooler weather. Take it easy. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.